host of the Gridiron.
Fourth and goal to go with the 2. 34 seconds left to go in the ball game. This is the play right now. Takes the snap. Targeted goes in. Targeted all alone. And the quarterback keeps. Wow, what a call. Nobody touched him.
So, yeah, is it 1981 all over again? Meaning, right? I mean, obviously, 1980 the Giants stunk, so obviously they were rewarded with the number 2 overall pick, right, in the 1981 NFL draft. Now, of course, what they were doing was they were kind of crapping their pants, right? Because they didn't want Rodgers here. They didn't want Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. They wanted this guy right here. Right, LT, 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 LT. Right now, they didn't know. Everybody kind of assumed or kind of was thinking or leaning toward that the Saints would take Rodgers at number 1. Now, Rodgers had a very good career. He actually his final season, I believe, was '87 with the Redskins. He won a Super Bowl. Now he played his first 4 seasons with Nolans. And I tell you what, his first season with Nolans, I looked at it. He had like over 60. He led the league in rushing. He had almost 400 carries. I think he had like 13 rushing touchdowns. Wasn't much in the passing game. But one of his seasons, I can't remember which one it was with the Redskins. I don't know, it was 86 might have been. He had 18 rushing touchdowns. I mean, the Redskins back then, they were good. Really, really good. That's like the Redskins and the Giants. 86, the Giants won the Super Bowl. 87, the Redskins won the Super Bowl. 1990, the Giants won the Super Bowl. 1991, the Redskins won the Super Bowl. Both teams were really, really good back then. But Rodgers was with the Redskins 85, 86, and 87, I believe. So he played 7 years in the NFL. He had over 7,000 yards. He wasn't much in the passing game, as I said, but between his rushing and his receiving, he had like 7,500 yards total. Yeah, he was the number 1 overall pick. Have there been better number 1 overall picks? Oh, yeah, absolutely. But, yeah, he had a very nice career, very nice NFL career. It lasted 7 seasons, right? But the Giants, were obviously, I guess George Young and all that, they're all worried and everything. Who the Saints going to take? Are they going to take Rodgers like they were kind of thinking, kind of hoping, right? But as I said, you figure that the Giants were, same thing might wind up happening here because the Giants had such a crappy record in 1980. 1981 rolls around, they were almost, forced to take Lawrence Taylor, number 2. Right? And now, is it the top 8? I think I just looked a little while ago. I think it was the top 8. I think there were 3 Hall of Famers on defense taken in the top 8 of that 81 draft. Kenny Easley, obviously some dude by the name of Lawrence Taylor, and Ronnie Lott. Ronnie Lott was number 8 overall. 3 Hall of Famers on defense taken in that draft, 1981. That was, thankfully obviously the Saints did take Rodgers. I don't know who the Giants would have taken. I don't know if they would have taken Rodgers with pick number 2. I'm not sure which way they were leaning. They could have taken a defensive player. Who knows? But obviously, if the Saints did wind up taking Lawrence Taylor, I said, I don't know who the Giants took. But obviously, the meaning here of this video is, the Giants were, left. Now, they haven't always done that. We're going to talk a little bit later about some of the blunders the Giants had. Is it the next one? Giants? Yeah. Next portion of our program. We're going to talk about some draft blunders, right? So the Giants were left, obviously, at times, especially high picks with good players. I can also always go back, of course, to 1965 when the Giants had the number 1 overall pick. The Giants took Tucker Frederickson from Auburn, a running back who was a very good college player. But they also left on the board Dick Butkus, who got taken at number 3, and Gale Sayers, who got taken at number 4 by the Bears. two Hall of Famers. The Giants needed a running back. They could have took Gale Sayers. Giants needed defense. 1966 defense gave up 501 points in 14-game schedule. That's hard to do. So the Giants needed defense. They could have taken Dick Butkus. Nope. Took Tucker Frederickson. Interesting, though, all three of those players, basically their knees went and they got injured, and they all, I think Fredrickson's last season was 71, Gale Sayers' last season was 71, and Dick Butkus, his knees he was out by like 73. So all those players, their knees were, as many players were back there then. But I mean, so there were times where the Giants actually, were drafting high, and maybe they, had somebody they could have taken who was maybe far better than who they did take. But my point being is that, in 81, right, the Saints did the Giants a huge favor. They took George Rogers, right? And the Giants were left there with Lawrence Taylor. That might be the same thing here, right? Just because, obviously, usually the way it winds up working out, a lot of times when you're drafting high, usually that's because you don't have a quarterback. Not all the time, but a lot of times, and just happens to be that way. The top three teams, not top four, but the top three, all need quarterbacks: the Giants, the Browns, and the Titans. Well, now because Cam Ward is so good, right? Quite possibly, right? That's what you hear, right? The Titans are going to take him. So we got two really phenomenal talents in this draft, and just as I said, unless the Giants get like some boatloads of draft picks from another team, the Giants slide on back. Basically, the Giants would be almost forced to take one of these two phenomenal players. Now, I'm not saying that Abdul Carter is going to be a Lawrence Taylor. I'm not saying Travis Hunter is going to be like a Jerry Rice or whatever like that. But all things with the way the scouting is, and the draft technology and everything they got, when a couple players come out, for the most part, right, when they come out and everybody's like, this guy is going to be unbelievable, or this guy, usually they're right. I mean, it doesn't mean that a guy picked at number 10 can't be unbelievable, but usually when somebody is going to get drafted high up, obviously there's been some misses, but usually when they say the guys are like, maybe the top in the last 5 years or this or that or something like that, usually they're right. And I say it's just that I lived through the 1980 season. It was not pretty. I mean, it was just another horrible season. It was just, 1964 to 1980. The Giants didn't make the playoffs once, right? Only had two winning seasons, 1970 and 72. So after the 80 season was over, it was just like, oh, here we go again, right? Didn't think in my wildest dreams that we would go, well, were we 4-12? Let me see. He was 4-12. 1980, New York Giants. Bam. 4-12. Yeah. So we were 4-12. That's why we got to pick number 2 overall. Right. But, we're 4-2. I mean, we just look really look bad. Really bad. You just expect the 1981 season just to be the same old, right? But I said, because we were so bad, we got to pick Lawrence Taylor, and he changed everything around, right? And he took a bunch of good players. It's like, a lot of that, I guess, can be like maybe kind of like on a defensive front might be the best way to look at it, or like a good wide receiver, or something like that. You get a good wide receiver, makes some of the other receivers better because you got to pay more attention to the one wide receiver, right? They got to start shifting over to his side or keep somebody over top of, all right? Or a good defensive lineman like a Reggie White. Clyde Simmons one year, I think he had like 20 sacks, I think one year with the Eagles. Well, I mean, that some of it was because Reggie White was there. Clyde Simmons then went to the Cardinals and his, he didn't duplicate his 20 sacks. I mean, sometimes you get somebody really good, like an Aaron Donald, makes other people around them better because they got to put 37 guys on Aaron Donald, right? So he doesn't ruin the play. Well, it gives other players freedom to roam around and become better, right? So sometimes you get one guy, right? Especially somebody like a Carter, right? Because you don't know where he might be rushing from, right? So one guy, can make everybody better, especially on the defense with Carter. Hunter, likewise, on the other side, if we were to put him in on offense, going to make the offense better, right? Because if you got Malik on one side, they go, Malik's over here. Okay, we'll rotate over here. We'll get the one safety over there, a little high, so he doesn't burn us. But if you got Malik on one side, you got Hunter on the other side. Right? Which way are you gonna? You're going to keep a safety high over Hunter. You're going to keep a safety, right? So one player can really, as I said, the Giants were 4-12 in 1980. Went from 1964. They lost the championship game in 1963, 14-10 to the Bears in Wrigley Field. So from 1964 to 1980, nothing. Only had 2 winning seasons, right? Lo and behold, Lawrence Taylor comes around in 1981, and not only did we have a winning season in 1981, but we went to the playoffs. And not only that, but we won a playoff game, right? And we hadn't won a playoff game for since the 50s, right? So, so I said, so one of these transformational players can mean a heck of a lot. So, the way it was in 1981, right? I said, I lived through the 80 season. It's like, here we go again. It was just like, it's just like you're a zombie. It's just like you're sleepwalking. It's another Giant season. How up is this season going to be? You know what I mean? You get one player can kind of turn things all around for you. So if the Giants are forced to take Hunter or Carter, boy, man, it could be one of the greatest things that ever happened to the Giants in a long, long time.